first instinct after a bad hair transplant is understandable. Doctor, I want these hair to be removed, all of them to be removed. But what if I told you that removing them creates a problem far worse than the one you started out with? And that is the paradox of hair transplant repair. A ruler straight hairline, multi-hair thick grafts sitting in the first row, or temple hairs growing vertically can look terribly artificial. And the temptation is to erase this mistake. Yet, the scalp is not a sheet of paper. A badly drawn hairline cannot be simply rubbed out and drawn again. In many repair cases, therefore, my philosophy is completely different. Remove only what you must, add what is missing. The first problem with removing transplanted follicles is that FUE extraction is still surgery. Every single punch creates another wound, heals with some amount of scarring. And with repeated extraction, the effect is not merely additive. Cumulative trauma, fibrosis, and tissue remodeling may make the final scarring more conspicuous than the simple number of punch sites would suggest. That may be perfectly acceptable in a donor area, surrounded by thousands of hair which will keep growing. But imagine repeatedly punching the bare forehead where there is almost nothing to camouflage. This can become a classic case of jumping from the frying pan into the fire. White or hypopigmented spots may eventually become a bigger problem than the misplaced hair you wanted to remove in the first case. Under harsh or oblique lighting, they may even be visible from conversational distance. And unlike a wrongly directed hair, which can sometimes be camouflaged, a scar is permanent. You may remove the offending graft, but leave behind its permanent fingerprint. Hair follicles do not all grow simultaneously. Each follicle independently passes through anagen, catagen, telogen phases. In our histological examination of donor hair follicles at Amulya Labs, part of the Five Rivers Hospital that we run, me and my wife, who's a histopathologist, we analyzed that approximately 9.5 follicles were in catagen phase and 6.5 in telogen phase. So roughly 16% of follicles are not actively growing at any given moment of time. So the hair you see on your head today is not your complete follicular population. A proportion of follicles are in the resting phase or the transitional phase, sitting quietly under the skin. You remove the visibly misplaced, malaligned, badly angulated hair today. Few months later, another one appears, and then yet another. That is why trying to erase a bad hair transplant by extraction can become a moving target rather than a one-time correction. What began as a correction can lead to repeated surgery upon already traumatized skin. Don't throw good money after bad. In repair surgery, the same principle applies. Don't throw good skin after bad grafts. Laser hair reduction certainly has a place in certain selected cases. But a laser is a laser, not an eraser. Its principal target is melanin. Dark, coarse hairs, therefore, respond the best, whereas a grey, white, or a poorly pigmented hair will respond poorly. And several sessions are usually necessary because follicles are at different phases of the hair cycle. The laser recognizes pigment. It does not recognize bad hair placement. It does not know that one dark follicle growing at 80 degrees is aesthetically wrong, while another follicle is just 2 millimeters away, which is perfectly placed, should be preserved. When desirable and undesirable hair are closely intermingled, indiscriminate destruction may therefore weaken or alter the hairs we would actually have preferred to have kept. So unless the original hairline has been placed catastrophically low, I often prefer to reconstruct rather than deconstruct. A natural hairline is not really a line, it is a transition. The first few millimeters should contain single hair follicles with subtle irregularities in position, spacing, caliber, and direction. They should certainly not stand shoulder to shoulder like soldiers in a regiment on parade. Density should gradually increase behind this leading edge. This gives us another way of treating a poor result. Instead of obsessively removing every single hair that is incorrect, we change the visual hierarchy. Place fine, single hair properly angulated in the front. Break the ruler straight edge by macro and micro irregularity creation. Create a proper transition zone. Make the correctly placed hairs command the eye so strongly that the old grafts retreat into the background and become imperceptible. Sometimes repair surgery resembles restoring an old building more than demolishing it. You preserve whatever structure remains useful, remove only what compromises the reconstruction, and build carefully around it. There are, of course, hairs that simply cannot be forgiven. If thick 3-hair, 4-hair follicles sit prominently in the first row, I selectively extract those gross offenders. But then I don't go around chasing every single graft that has been placed badly. Once the most conspicuous ones have been removed, I rebuild the leading edge with fine single hair grafts with appropriate angulation and natural irregularities. And sometimes this may need 2 stages. The punch holes created while removing incorrectly angled hair retain the unfavorable angle of those original follicles. So we cannot immediately place a new hair graft into the same fresh tract that we've created and expect it magically to emerge at a completely different natural angle. That doesn't happen. The area may therefore have to heal first. At a later date, new recipient sites are created in natural direction. Removing the wrongly placed hair is only half the repair. Rebuilding the architecture correctly completes the whole procedure. The objective is not necessarily to make the previously transplanted hair disappear histologically. It is to make it disappear visually. Temple points are particularly unforgiving. Natural temporal hair emerges at very acute angles and lies almost flush with the skin. But if grafts in this area have been planted upright, even relatively fine graft will appear conspicuous. Trying to punch out every vertical follicle may pepper this exposed area with numerous scars. Instead, I would remove only those hairs that are grossly incompatible with the repair and place fine single follicles around and in front of the remainder at the correct acute angle. As they grow, something remarkable happens. The eye stops following the occasional incorrect hair. It begins following the dominant direction established by the correctly placed grafts instead. The most difficult repair is often the patient whose recipient area looks unnatural and whose donor has already been aggressively harvested. Now every donor follicle becomes precious. Why remove hundreds of surviving grafts simply because their position is imperfect, only to discover that there are insufficient donor hairs left to rebuild what we have destroyed? A depleted donor is rather like a bank account with no overdraft facility. Every withdrawal must be justified. My rule then becomes simply remove what prevents reconstruction, preserve what can be incorporated, add where addition creates the maximum visual benefit. Donor harvesting may already have produced permanent thinning, patchiness and visible scars, making revision substantially more demanding than the original procedure. Previous surgery creates fibrosis and changes the tissue into which we are transplanting. Hair can certainly grow in scarred recipient skin, but its behavior here is quite unpredictable. Published experience in post-surgical scars and burn scars has reported survival in the range of 80 to 85%, although those numbers should simply not be transferred directly to every revision hair transplant surgery. So the broader lesson is, when the recipient has already been operated upon before and the donor has been depleted, every graft, every decision counts. My margin of error becomes very small. That is why repair is not merely another hair transplant. It is salvage surgery, and salvage surgery rewards restraint. If the hairline has been placed absurdly low, removal may be indeed necessary. If thick multi-hair grafts occupy the leading edge, some should certainly be extracted. But when the basic position of the hairline is acceptable, I would think very carefully before embarking on wholesale removal. The aim is not to punish every badly placed follicle. The aim is to make the patient look natural. Have a nice day.